The approach by Florida State and Clemson has been very different when it comes to their legal battles with the ACC, but things just turned and changed a little bit, at least from the Clemson perspective. Tiger fans, Florida State fans, thank you for tuning in and watching today. I want to talk to you about the legal battles and a few quick updates. Now, Florida State was in court yesterday, and though that didn't warrant an entire video with Doug Rohan, I did chat with him and wanted to talk a little bit about what happened in court in North Carolina, as well as a new update from a Clemson amendment to one of their filings that got a little bit spicy. Now, the Seminoles were in court, and then Clemson went at the ACC in an updated amendment, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Florida State has been pretty guns blazing for months with this thing. And Clemson's kind of taken the more toned down approach. I wouldn't necessarily call it good cop, bad cop, but Florida State's definitely been the bad cop, and Clemson's just kind of been on the side there, staying out of the limelight. Not necessarily endorsing the ACC like you've seen Miami and UNC's ADs do, but Clemson's just been quiet about it. They haven't been, I'll say, the pain in the butt that Florida State has been to the ACC. But things are starting to change there, and Clemson's starting to spin that a little bit, and they're starting to get, in my opinion, a little bit more frustrated with how things are going, what the ACC is doing back to them. I think Florida State's been in this fight long enough since really last August, and maybe even before when we started covering this back in maybe February of 2023. I think Florida State's very much known that, hey, we're going to wear this, and it is going to be our cross to bear, and we are going to get a lot of the hate. Nobody's hating on Clemson nationally like they did Florida State. Nobody's talking about Clemson like they did Florida State for months and months and months. And so Clemson was able to kind of ease into this and not have to be the big bad guy that Florida State was for months. Well, again, things are changing, and I want to talk about that in just a moment. But first, Florida State was back in court yesterday and was appealing the sovereign immunity claim that North Carolina originally said, no, we don't hold this. We don't think that you have grounds here. Florida State's attorney got in a quick quip and said, I'm sure the U.S. Supreme Court would agree if the North Carolina Supreme Court does not. Essentially, just a quick in-passing comment to say, hey, I want you to know that we're going to take this to the Supreme Court if we have to. We're going to take this to the highest possible level that we can. And so that's a message that's sent to several parties. One, it's obviously sent to the judge. It's sent to the court. This is what's going to happen. Think long and hard about your ruling so that your decision doesn't get tossed out down the road. It's also a message, I believe, to the ACC. We will take this battle to the ends of the earth, and this battle will go on for longer than you have a contract with ESPN. And there's no way you're going to win this battle if you don't have a contract remaining with ESPN, if they have not renewed, which we've told you in other videos, maybe on other channels, that I don't believe they have. And so I think this message was very targeted. I think it was very well placed. I looked at some of Doug's tweets. I spoke with him earlier today, not about this specifically, but I spoke with him about some things in this case. And some of his tweets were, hey, as an attorney, I don't say anything just in passing. I don't say anything that's not intentional. I don't say anything that I don't mean to strategically place when I'm in court. And I think Florida State very strategically placed this in court today. Clemson also asked South Carolina about the sovereign immunity part of their lawsuit. And it does seem like both programs, both universities, both entities are somewhat learning from each other. They are somewhat being able to take and share and gather information about what works, what hasn't worked, what's messed up in certain situations, what's done well in certain situations, and adjust there. Florida State got a brand new mulligan card in being able to refile their lawsuit in Tallahassee, which is a huge advantage. Doug talked about how that was a little bit of a embarrassment publicly, but how it can give them a massive, massive advantage going forward. No updates came from Judge Bledsoe in yesterday's hearing. It sounds like, and what he was quoted as saying, is that we will have an update next week, though. I did see that Doug Rohan said this on Twitter. He said, we'll see what the judge says. He says, as I posted yesterday, this is a win-win scenario for FSU. Judge Bledsoe agrees and holds up the North Carolina case, and that's a win for FSU to slow things down. Or Judge Bledsoe disagrees and orders that the case moves forward into the answer and discovery phase, and then the pressure then ratchets up on the ACC and the ESPN. There is no bad outcome today or next week whenever he issues his order. I'll link that tweet there in the description. But either way, whatever is decided next week when Judge Bledsoe returns, we are going to be the beneficiaries there. Florida State will be the winner in that win-win scenario, according to Doug. We appreciate Doug for all of his time that he spends here on the channel in assisting us. I also want to give some love before we go on to my guy, John, over at gotspears.com. Now, listen, they've got some different codes right now that can save you some money. Listen, I don't just talk to you about it. I've got my 6-foot spear here in the office, ready to go at all times. We have it out of the tailgates. Listen, code Father's Day 24. That's all one word, Father's Day 24 in the checkout. We'll take $50 off the following products: the 6-foot spear with or without the torch, the large gator head with the tomahawk in it, the 6-foot white tip spear, or the 6-foot spear without the torch that also has a rush delivery on it. You can also get the medium gator head with the tomahawk that has the 4 to 6 week rush option. A ton of different options for you if you want to get your dad something with the Father's Day 24 code. You may need to use some of those rush shipping options to get it in time for Father's Day, and they are available on there. I'll link it all in the description. You can also right now get 2 6-foot spears for $200, which is a savings of $100. If you pick up locally, that's done by his Rush Shop, and that option is available in the checkout if you want to pick up that way. Thanks again to gotspears.com for their support. Make sure that you're checking them out, FSU fans, if you don't already have a great product from them. Now, Clemson. The Tigers certainly made things a little bit spicy. I read some of this on Matt Baker's report, in which he told a lot about what their update to their amended claim is. He said the Tigers are now seeking punitive damages to Clemson for the ACC's willful and malicious conduct. That was a quote, willful and malicious conduct, including slander of title. That request is part of an amended complaint filed last month in Pickens County, South Carolina. It was just made public this week. Now, Clemson has, again, been somewhat calm about this. They've not gone the guns blazing way that Florida State has. But the school said that the conference knew its claims about them have been false, and they acted with reckless disregard to the truth. The effect of their malintent, the suit said, was to harm Clemson and deter its exit from the conference by, among other things, seeking to diminish the value of Clemson's intangible property. Obviously, we're in a debate right now over who owns what rights and where the rights go if someone leaves the conference. But Clemson is alleging that the value of their rights has been diminished to third parties because of how the ACC has acted. Clemson's lawsuit said the diminution in value injures Clemson, it impedes its ability to negotiate future media rights agreements, and it worsens its negotiating position with future potential collaborators. Clemson is done playing Mr. Nice Guy. Clemson is done with the baby gloves, and they've put on the real heavyweight boxing gloves at this point. Not only are they suing the ACC to get out of the conference, they are seeking, and it didn't specify a dollar amount, they are seeking damages for the way that the ACC has absolutely misrepresented facts in both of their cases against Florida State and Clemson, specifically the one against Clemson. And they're not necessarily just playing defense. They're not just necessarily playing like we want to get out. They're playing offense. Hey, not only did they not hold up their end of the bargain, not only have they not done what they've said they need to do, they're also hurting us in the process. And they're making our position so much tougher going forward. Clemson's telling the ACC and everyone else listening, they're telling the courts, this is happening. And the ACC is dragging their feet. They are making this as difficult as possible. We've been at the table with Florida State for well over a year trying to get this figured out, and the ACC has wanted nothing to do with us in trying to get a resolution, and now they're hurting us in the future by basically slandering us, by basically misrepresenting facts, by lying intentionally to try and cause us harm, to make Clemson and Florida State less attractive in the future. The ACC is the definition of a bitter ex. They know that they can't have you anymore. And so what are they doing? They're trying to make sure that nobody else wants you in the future either. Let me talk as bad about you as I can so that maybe you won't be as attractive to that next person that comes along. That's exactly what Clemson's alleging here. That's exactly what Clemson is now putting on record to tell everybody about the ACC. Clemson's no longer just being the quiet brother of Florida State that's trying to get out at the same time. They're absolutely stepping up to the plate and taking a battle axe to the ACC right now. And I don't think it's done. I don't think that they're anywhere close to done with this. You've seen Florida State fire shot after shot after shot after shot. And Clemson's about to do the same thing. They will not go down without an insane fight with this. And I think once the ACC is battered and bruised and bloodied enough, we'll get a settlement and Florida State and Clemson will both be out. Where are they going? Where are they going to land? Where's Florida State going to end up? Where's the Tigers going to end up? I talked about all of that in a video on our national channel. If you haven't already subscribed there, click the button on the screen right now to watch it.